ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरिः ओम श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. Maitreya Uvacha Sanakadya Naradascha Ruburhamso Runir Yatihi Naite Grihan Brahma Sutta Yapasan Urdhvareta Saha. The great sage Maitreya said, the four great Kumara sages headed by Sanaka as well as Narada, Rubu, Hamsa, Aruni and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not live at home but became Urdhvaretya or Naishtika Brahmacharis, unadulterated celibates. मृषाधर्मस्य भार्यासीद् दम्भं मायां च शत्रुहन् असूतमिथुनं तत्तु निर्ऋतिर्चघ्रे प्रजः. Another son of Lord Brahma was irreligion, whose wife name was Falsity. From their combination were born two demons named Damba or bluffing and Maya or cheating. These two demons were taken by a demon named Niritti who had no children. तयोः समभवल्लोभो निकृतिश्च महामते ताभ्यां क्रोधश्च हंसा च यद्दुरुक्तिः स्वसा कलिः. Maitreya told Vidura, O great soul, from Damba and Maya were born greed and Nikriti or cunning. From their combination came children named Krodha, angry, and Himsa, envy. And from their combination were born Kali and his sister Durukti, harsh speech. दुरुक्तौ कलिर्आदत्त भयं मृत्युं च सत्तमां तयोश्च मिथुनं जज्ञे यातना निरयस्तथा. O greatest of all good men, by the combination of Kali and harsh speech were born children named Mrityu, death, and Bhiti, fear. From the combination of Mrityu and Bhiti came children named Yatana, excessive pain, and Niraya, hell. सङ्ग्रहेण मया मन सङ्ग्रहेण मया ख्यातः प्रतिसर्गस्तवानगा त्रिः श्रुत्वैतत् पुमान् पुण्यं विद्नोति आत्मनो मलम्. My dear Vidura, I have summarily explained the causes of devastation. One who hears this description three times attains piety and washes the sinful contamination from his soul. अथात कीर्तये वंशं पुण्यकीर्तेः कुरुध्वः स्वायंभवस्यापि मनोर्हरेरंशांश जन्मनः. Maitreya continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe to you the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu, who was born of a part of a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. प्रियव्रतोत्तानपादौ शतरूपपते सुतौ वासुदेवस्य कलया रक्षायां जगतः स्थितौ. Swayambhu Manu had two sons by his wife Shatarupa, and the names of the sons were Uttanapada and Priyavrata. Because both of them were descendants of a plenary expansion of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were very competent to rule the universe, to maintain and protect the citizens. Jaye Uttanapadasya Suniti Suruchisthayo Suruchi Preyasi Yur Netarayat Suto Dhruva. King Uttanapada had two queens named Suniti and Suruchi. Suruchi was much more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favorite. एकदा सुरुचेः पुत्रम् अङ्कम् आरोप्य लालयन् उत्तमं नारुरुक्षन्तं ध्रुवं राजाभ्यनन्दत. Once upon a time, King Uttanapada was patting the son of Suruchi Uttama, placing him on his lap. Dhruva Maharaj was also trying to get on the king's lap, but the king did not very much welcome him. तथा चिकीर्षमाणं तं सपत्न्यन्तनयं ध्रुवं सुरुचिशृण्वतो राज्ञः शर्ष्यन् आहातिगर्विता. While the child Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the lap of his father, Surichi, his stepmother, became very envious of the child, and with great pride she began to speak so as to be heard by the king himself. नवत्सो नृपतेर्धिष्ण्यं भवान् आरोधुम् अर्हति न गृहीतो मया यत्त्वं कुक्षाव् अपि नृपात्मजः. Queen Suruchi told Dhruva Maharaj, "My dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king, but because you did not take your birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. बालोऽसि बतनात्मानम् अन्यस्त्रीगर्भसंभृतं नूनं वेद भवान् यस्य दुर्लभेर्ते मनोरथः." My dear child, you are unaware that you were born not of my womb but of another woman. Therefore, you should know that your attempt is doomed to failure. You are trying to fulfill a desire which is impossible to fulfill. तपसाराध्य पुरुषं तस्यैवानुग्रहेण मे गर्भे त्वं साधयात्मानं यदीच्छसि नृपासनम्. If you at all desire to rise to the throne of the king, then you have to undergo severe austerities. First of all, you must satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, and then, when you are favored by him because of such worship, you shall have to take your next birth from my womb. मैत्रेयवाच मातु सपत्ना स दुरुक्तिविद्या स्वसन् रुषा दण्डहतो यता हि हित्वा मिषन्तं पितरं सन्न वाचं जगाम मातुः प्ररुदन् सकाशम् Sakasyam. The sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, as a snake when struck by a stick breathes very heavily, Dhruva Maharaj, having been struck by the strong words of his stepmother, began to breathe very heavily because of great anger. When he saw that his father was silent and did not protest, he immediately left the palace and went to his mother. तं निःश्वसन्तं सुपरितादरोस्तं सुनीतिरुत्सङ्ग उदुह्य बालं निशम्य तत्पौरमुखान् नितान्तं सा विव्यते यद् गदिदं सपत्न्या. When Dhruva Maharaj reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger, and he was crying very grievously. Queen Suniti immediately lifted her son onto her lap, while the palace residents, who had heard all the harsh words of Suruchi, related everything in detail. Thus Suniti also became greatly aggrieved. सोत्सृज्य धैर्यं विललापशोकदावाग्निना दावलतेव बाला वाक्यं सपत्न्याः स्मरति सरोजा श्रिया दृशा बाष्प बाष्पकलाम् उवाह. This incident was unbearable to Suniti's patience. She began to burn as if in a forest fire, and in her grief, she became just like a burnt leaf and so lamented. As she remembered the words of her co wife, her bright lotus like face filled with tears, and thus she spoke. दीर्घं स्वसन्ति वृजिनस्य पारम् अपश्यति बालकम् आह बाला मामङ्गलं तात परेषु मंशा भुङ्क्ते जनो यत्परदुःखदस्तत्. She also was breathing very heavily and she did not know the factual remedy for the painful situation. Not finding any remedy, she said to her son, "My dear son, don't wish for anything inauspicious for others. Anyone who inflicts pains upon others suffer himself from that pain. सत्यं सुरिच्याभिहितः भवान् मे यद्दुर्भगाय उदरे गृहीतः स्तन्येन वृद्धश्च विलज्जते यां भार्येति वा वोढुम् idhaspatiर्माम्. Suniti said, "My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi is so because the king your father does not consider me his wife or even his maid servant. He feels ashamed to accept me. Therefore, it is a fact that you have taken birth from the womb of an unfortunate woman, and by being fed from her breast, you have grown up. आतिष्ठतत्तात विमत्सरस्त्वम् उक्तं समात्रापि यद् अव्यलीकम् आराधयाधोक्षजपादपद्मम् अदीच्छसे ध्यासनम् उत्तमो यता. My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you desire at all to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. यस्याङ्घ्रिपद्मं परिचर्य विश्वविभावनायात्त गुणाभिपत्ते अजोध्यस् अजोद्यतिष्ठत् खलु पारमेष्ट्यं पदं जितात्म स्वसनाभिवन्द्यम्. Suniti continued, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead is so great that simply by worshipping his lotus feet, your great grandfather Lord Brahma acquired the necessary qualifications to create the universe. Although he is unborn and is the chief of all living creatures, he is situated in that exalted post because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom even great yogis worship by controlling the mind and regulating the life air, prana. तथा मनोर्वा भगवान् पितामहो यम् एकमत्या पुरु दक्षिणैर्मखै इष्ट्वाभिपेदे दुरवापम् अन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यमथापवर्ग्यम्. Suniti informed her son, "Your grandfather Swayambhu Manu executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity and thereby with unflinching faith and devotion. He worshipped and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. Tameva Vatshasya Okay. तमेव वत्स्राश्रय भृत्यवत्सलं मुमुक्षुभिर्मृग्य पदाब्जपद्धतिम् अनन्यभावे निजधर्मभाविते मनस्यावस्थाप्य भजस्व पूरुषम्. My dear boy, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. Becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation, just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart, and without deviating for a moment, engage always in His service. नान्यं ततः पद्मपलासलोचनान् दुःखं छिद्रं ते मृगयामि कञ्चन यो मृग्यते हस्तगृहीतपद्मया श्रियेता श्रियेतैरैर् anga vimragam manaya. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. मैत्रेयवाच एवं सञ्जल्पितं मातुर् आकर्ण्याथागमं वचः सन्नियम्यात्मनात्मानं निश्चक्राम निश्चक्रामपितुः पुरात्. The great sage Maitreya continued, the instruction of Dhruva Maharaj's mother Suniti was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Therefore, after deliberate consideration with his intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. So, we are very happy to start a very nice pastime of the Lord's devotee. And later we also will hear the glories of the Lord, how he mercifully blesses his sincere devotees. I thought of actually starting with what is the falastuti of this pastime, to inspire ourselves that we attend and seek the blessings. But I can already see in the eighth verse of this chapter, we can already see the fruit or the result of actually hearing to Dhruva Pakhyana. But before that, we will go through the first initial. This is in continuation after what happened. Maitreya is narrating to Vidura the creation. Yeah, so where he already has highlighted what happened to Daksha Yajna, and after that comes this part. The cause of destruction is explained. Mm. After the yajna is performed, everyone is blessed, all gets results. The lineage of Adharma is described. Hmm. Many sons of Brahma, including the Kumaras, Naradas, Rubus, Hamsas, all, they became Naishtika Brahmacharis. I mean, I'll not be able to touch the purports, but purports have very, very rich wealth of um, wisdom, spiritual understanding. So if you have time, please read. But I'll just say it said Naishtika Brahmacharis are one who have are called Urdhvareta, who can take the potency, this is summon the power through yogic practice to the higher, to the is it said to the heart or head? To the heart. Yeah, that is a process. And then after that, there is the lineage of Adharma, which is said Brahma's son is Adharma, married to Mishra, which is falsity. Then there is Damba and Maya, and the combination of that comes Lobha and Nikriti, and from them comes Krodha and Himsa. From their combination comes Kali and Durukti. From that comes Mrityu, Bhiti, and then Yatana and Niraya. Hmm. So I don't know if we are talking about here this creation is a normal creation where the father is bearing children and the children. The question may come, how come that these children can get married? For example, how is it possible Damba and Maya? Uh, yeah, in fact, they came from Adharma, yeah, as a father. So in the lineage of religion, there is an unnatural combination of sex life between brother and sister, as shown from these few verses. That itself is adharma. Hmm. And then it is said, one who accepts this in the fifth verse, it is said, the Phalasthiti is, I have briefly described the cause of the destruction. Pratisarga. Sarga means creation, Pratisarga is destruction. One who hears this description three times, they attain piety, which is punya, and washes off his sins, which is vidhunoti atmano malam. Whatever is troubling us, to really see ourselves as pure soul, which is the dirt that can be cleared when we know the destruction, especially about this. When we talk about Kali and his companion is harsh words. Yeah, so this description is purifying because by hearing the cause of destruction, one feels hatred for them and avoid them, and thus advances in piety. So this is the process. Just like a smoker at home may help others to not get the habit of smoking, because some people understand, hey, this guy is self-destroying himself, causing immense self-pain. So that's why he learns, oh, let me not do it. So similarly, understanding these qualities are dangerous, one will be careful. And after that, after describing this adharma, Maitreya is now eager to describe the glories of a great devotee called Dhruva. And for that reason, he brings back the context again, that Lord Brahma. And then there is this Manu. Swayambhu Manu had three daughters and two sons, and two sons are Uttanapada and Priyavrata. In fact, um, King. These two sons, born of Lord's expansion, right? Manu is Lord, it is said Amsha Amsha. Swayambhu Manu is Amsha Amsha, means Amsha itself is the Swamsha, and Amsha Amsha is the plenary expansion. So Swayambhu Manu and his from him came two sons, Uttanapada, Priyavrata. And in fact, Priyavrata is elder, Uttanapada is younger, but still we can see already Maitreya is so eager to sing the glories of a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj. He picked up the subject of Dhruva Upakyana. Yeah, he's describing, and in that context, King Uttanapada had two wives. One is Suniti, and other wife name is Suruchi. The names itself can give us a flavor, and sometimes we may think, is Bhagavatam is a story written by some great person due to which he could very appropriately select some names. And I have also heard sometimes some speakers, they would just tell that, yeah, this there is nothing. This is only Bhagavatam is a compilation of a moral stories, and for that moral stories there are some names and some god names and etc. We have to be very, very careful. Hmm. We have to be very careful. For example, we should understand that we are not talking about the times of Kali Yuga, where if a boy is born or a girl is born, then the parents are giving whatever name they want. And of course, yeah, in those days it was not like that. When in Ramayana we know when Lord Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrugna were born, the names were given by carefully examining the astrological charts. Yeah. So the Suruchi can also mean a good sense, in a good sense. Yeah. Why will someone will give a bad name? Suruchi is a good name. In fact, it is a good taste. But what good taste is, we can see a taste to material or spiritual is how one leads the life. If one leads a attached life, the Suruchi can be very dangerous. This is what we will see later. And Suniti. Suniti means one who holds on good conduct. And King Uttanapada. Pada means a tree, and Uttana means a tree which is the roots are up. I'll also explain what does that mean later. But Uttanapada. So the king Uttanapada had two wives, Sunuti and Suruchi, and mm, Suniti's son is Dhruva, Dhruva Maharaj, who is the hero of this pastime. Priyavrata, though he being the first son of Manu, Maitreya was so eager to describe the activities. This is what we will see. This is eighth verse, as I said. Eighth verse, we can already see in the purport the importance of Dhruva Upakyana is just, though we can see the order is Priyavrata, but Maitreya Rishi is taking Uttanapada life, explaining that itself says how important it is uh, to hear to the glories of Dhruva Maharaj. In fact, in the purport, let me quickly see what I have marked. Verse number 8. Mm, I'm just referring some notes. Verse number 8. Yeah. So here. In fact, in the purport, it is said, Dhruva pastime generates feeling of devotional service in the hearts of the hearers. The example of Dhruva Maharaj, this is the last line of the eighth purport, eighth verse. The example of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities can immediately generate a feeling of devotional service in the heart of the hearers. Huh? And in fact, how is we can see that this story relates very close to maybe a real time scenario, and through that it can help us to relate ourselves, feel get a feel of it, and so that helps us to feel ourselves, this kind of episode that happens. तथा चिकीर्षमां तं sapatnya tanayam dhruvam. So what happened here is Dhruva and Uttama both are sons of Uttanapada. But what happened here is while the child Dhruva was trying to get on the lap of his father, Suruchi, uh, his stepmother, became very envious of the child. We already heard what can envy do to one's own life in the case of Daksha Prajapati. Here is another episode, what happens to Suruchi. But very interestingly, here the envy of Suruchi actually in one way helped Dhruva Maharaj. So envy can cause destruction for oneself, but um, if simple, if a person who is very determined is affected by it, he is not going to burn in that, but rather he would take the best of it. And this is what happens in Dhruva Pakhyana. So, because very envious of child and with great pride, she began to speak. She started, therefore, it is concluded that the feminine nature of woman is present everywhere. In the purport, Prabhupada writes in the last line, these symptoms are visible even in such an elevated society as the family of Swayambhu Manu. Yeah, people may ask, na, is it just, yeah, how is it possible? We are talking about Satya Yuga. Satya Yuga means everything should be clean and pure. Everyone should be, compassionate. Everyone should be generous. Everyone should be, not everyone, maybe most of them, yeah, not everyone. So here we can see in Swayambhu Manu family what happened. And so Queen Suruchi, she started telling, you do not deserve to sit on the throne of the lap of of the king. Surely you are also the son, but you are not in a best position. Why? Because you didn't take birth from me. Yeah, see? Hmm? And in fact, she said so loudly and clearly that she is not only telling to Dhruva, she is also telling to her husband. And the husband was already henpecked. He was so much attracted to Ruchi that he had. That's why it's Uttanapada's Suruchi. He was captivated. बालोऽसि बत नाम आत्मन् आत्मनम् अन्यस्त्री गर्भ संभृतं नूनं वेद भया भवां यस्य दुर्लभे रते मनोरथः. Yeah, your desire, yes, you're very desirous, but doesn't work. She said, small child Dhruva was naturally affectionate towards his father, and he did not know that there was a distinction between his two mothers. This distinction was pointed out by Queen Suruchi, who informed him that since he was not a child of her, uh, this is another statement of Queen Suruchi's pride. And it goes further. If she says, if if you at all desire to really sit on the throne, to rise to the, actually she was sensing that if Dhruva will be allowed to sit on the lap of the king, and then why not? Tomorrow he may even be desired to sit on the throne. And a person who is envious is always thinking, what will happen to me? If that happens, what about me? If the plans work out, what about me? So envious person is always out of sense of fear of losing something. He is always worried, and he does something, and here Suruchi has done. Then you have to undergo severe austerities. First of all, you must satisfy the Supreme Lord Narayan, and then when you are favored by him because of such worship, you shall have to take your next birth from my womb. Only then it may work. This is what she said. So while this was happening, the father was silent. Father is silent at son's situation. Dhruva became more angry. Trividam narkasyadam dvaram nasanam atmanaha kama krodha tatha lobha tasmad etat prayam tyajet. So this is the situation, and just as my dear Vidura, as a snake when struck with a stick breathes very heavily, Dhruva was breathing very heavily. Immediately he left the palace and went to his mother, because if at all someone can help him out to get out of that mood or situation, it is only his mother. He went there. uh, and in fact, the beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. And of course, here what happens, yeah, um, in this case, maturity of mother plays a very important role. In fact, it was not Dhruva who was matured by that time already, that he could say, okay, yes, yes, what you said is right. Yeah, I should actually go, and okay, yeah, I'll go and see Narayan and take his permission and then appear in your home. Oh, all fine. Or out of anger, he didn't just say, hey, who are you to tell me? Or no, he just ran, and it was his mother. And the role of mother is so important, that mother has to control herself to teach the child um, what is right, uh, and support him to go in the right path, because after all, it is the responsibility of the mother and father to take care of the child. So when Dhruva reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger. He was crying very grievously, and then the Suniti also became greatly aggrieved, knowing what has happened from by hearing from some others, palace residents. And then she was telling this incident. Mother should know the remedy for the worldly problems. And in fact, she appreciated what the co-wife was telling. Uh, though the words were very harsh, uh, she said, those things are, what she said is right. There is only one solution for all problems. Cursing, counter cursing is neither auspicious nor helpful for oneself or others. Causing pain to others causes pain to us. So all these things we can see. That's why Suniti has taken Dirgha Swasanti Rujanasya Param. She also was breathing very heavily. And then after thinking, after self-assessing, she was, solution is in self-assessment and self acceptance and self responsibility. If one is suffering, usually what we say, it is because of other person I am suffering, it is because of something else, someone else, God. We always want to find someone who is the cause of our problems. Hmm? So rather, here what happens is, Suniti says, my dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi is so, because the king your father does not consider me, his wife, or even his maid servant. So she's already bringing maturity, saying, okay, don't worry. Yeah, in fact, what about me? Do you think I am a pet wife? No, even he doesn't consider me as a wife or even maid servant. He feels ashamed to accept me. Therefore, it is a fact that you have taken birth from the womb of an unfortunate woman, and by being fed by me, you have grown up. So, mother instruction now should help to take the son to relieve uh, from this chance of getting caught. Yeah, usually what happens is, these are the dwaras, yeah, these are the doors which are coming closer. Yeah, I don't know if you have seen some kind of puzzle games where there will be a 30 seconds or 1 minute time, and then if you don't, then you are locked up. So this is a moment of urge. The moment of urge, yeah, Vegam, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udarupastha Vegam. Yeah. So there are these urges, they don't really give time to think. The doors are getting very quickly closed, but before these things take us on a toll and we lose the control, what we should do is, we should push the button of uh, save, what do you call this, emergency, what do you call this, rescue, um, yeah, rescue buttons or whatever. Yeah, so we need to find escape. Yeah, to escape out of this escape room, we need to find before we get locked up. And We need a wise person to guide us. And Suniti is telling very openly, and that is the maturity of the mother, because of course she herself got through that maturity by her experiences in life. Mother instruction should be to liberate, not to caught, but not to get caught. She said to give up that envy. She said, don't think bad about others. Uh, Asishta tat tava, sorry, Atishta tat tata vimatsara tvam. So she's saying, don't be envious of others. Don't be envious of her. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worship of the lotus feet of the Lord. So the harsh words used by Suruchi to her stepson were true, because unless one is favored by the Supreme Lord, one cannot achieve any success in the life. So here we can see that penances and austerities are not enough. Mercy of the Supreme Lord is must. So in one way, if Suruchi would have said, "Hey, if you want to sit on the lap of your father, then you what do you call this? Mm, get me that, do me this, or prove that you are ready to do big sacrifices." No, she didn't say all these things. Rather, she said, "Hey, see, to get such a to be fortunate, you need to get the mercy of the Lord." So, and the secret is not only penances and austerities, but mercy of the Lord is must. And this is what we see here. Indirectly, the words of Suruchi were a benediction for Dhruva Maharaj, for because of the influence of his stepmother's word, he became a great devotee. Yasyangri Padmam Paricharya Vishwa Vibhavanayata Gunabhipatte Yo Adhyatishtan Yo तिष्ठत् खलु पारमेष्यं पदं जितात्मा स्वसा स्वसनाभिवन्द्यम्. So go and take shelter of that Lord. Who? Which kind of Lord? Although he is unborn and is chief of, so Lord Brahma, he was blessed. Hmm? Whomever great yogis worship by the controlling the mind and regulating the life air. He is the personality of Godhead. His mercy to be sorted out. And not only he, yeah, in fact, Tatha Manur is saying, your grandfather, Swayambhu Manu, executed great penances and attained perfection. By acting in that way, he achieved great success. So, you should take to this path. Uh, so, this proves the belt, the real belt of Suniti, that when this time came, she didn't say, "Hey, now I have a reason to go and chastise the king, to fight for my right, to do that." No, she just told what the child should do. Rather, sometimes we think back to back, giving straight is going to solve the problem. No, actually, sometimes the solution is somewhere else. It is not by giving back immediately. It is actually, we don't worry. We can see also so many examples in Ramayana. In Sundarakanda, Hanuman is not just interested to fight all those demons who were coming from the ocean, but rather, if needed, he was taking a trick or showing his strength, whatever is needed, and then he was kept on moving on his goal. Hmm. So, unflinching faith in Krishna, uncompromising in making child success, these are very important qualities for a mother. Mother should have full faith in Krishna and should have uncompromising in making the child successful. And this is what Suniti did. I think we covered till 24, right? So one who does that, if she says, "My dear boy, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Lord, who is very kind to his devotees." Huh? And without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. So this is her personal instruction, and she said, "Many demigods such as Brahma seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but goddess of fortune, Lakshmi herself, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. You have to go and please him." So here we can see not only that mother is very straight, and here the quality of the child comes into play. Women should be far seeing like Suniti. This is first thing. Who advised Dhruva to worship only the Supreme Lord and no one else. This is one thing clear. And child is also, in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, he was very deliberately consider whatever his mother was saying. He was not just thinking, what are you telling? I can't understand. Oh, I think maybe it's not for me. It's people who are after 50 years. No, he took it very serious. He used intelligence and act with full fixed determination. That's why he is Dhruva. Hmm. And then he just left the place. Okay, thank you very much. We continue next week from Monday. And this chapter is nice, like 80 plus verses. We will go through this for a couple of days, and then we will see what level of success Dhruva attained with what level of austerities and devotion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful lecture. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Small info, tomorrow we have class. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow we have class as like weekend class.
Yeah,
Yeah. This and
Saturday 7:30. We have the Bhagavatam class. We are in the sixth canto, and we are talking a very, very, very important pastime. It's about Vritrasura, how a Brahmana became a Asura, and what he did, and if he becomes an Asura, does it mean he is a cruel? Why not he? Why he is not a cruel? So all these things we will cover tomorrow. And then, as usual, Sunday, 18th chapter, section. We finished Karma Yoga. We will go to Jnana Yoga. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay. Vanchakalpatarubhishya kripa sindhu पतितनं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।